Hello, everybody, and welcome to our WeAreDevelopers live event series. It's a big pleasure for me to welcome you all in the name of the WeAreDevelopers family to our WeAreDevelopers Live Mobility Days in sponsorship with Volkswagen. My name is Gary, and I'm responsible for the whole event organization here at WeAreDevelopers. And today, I'm proud to be your host of this afternoon. So, what can you expect from today's sessions? Let's give you a short overview. So we'll start with Jan, who is head of artificial intelligence at a car software organization, and he will tell you how machine learning is turning the automotive industry upside down. Benjamin, senior developer at Volkswagen AG, will then continue and will migrate a typical Angular application into web components and discuss the advantages and disadvantages in his talk. Shared mobility for everyone insights will be brought to you by Tom, who is the co-founder at Seat Code, as they have launched their shared mobility platform recently for the first customer, so be curious. And the last talk for today will be the one from Martina. She's product manager at Volkswagen AG, and she will take a tour at software development in a balanced team where people can open, listen to each other, and trust each other. Whenever you have a question to our speakers, we kindly invite you to simply use Slido right next to your video stream. We will have a Q&A session right after each talk. Simply use the event code WeAreDevsLive. So for now, we are very interested in hearing where are you joining us from today. Simply enter your city or your country. So great. Well, before I hand over to Jan, our first speaker, let me also tell you something about our code of conduct, which is very important, especially during these really crazy times we're having. The short version is, please behave, be nice to each other, and the long version is this one. So guys, thanks for waiting. I think we kept you waiting for long enough for now. It's time to roll the intro for Jan, who will
will be 3, 2, 1, now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. Thanks for your patience. I promise I give my best to make your wait worthwhile. Welcome, everyone, to this presentation titled How Machine Learning is Turning the Automotive Industry Upside Down. The topic is quite complex, so that's why I always like to supplement it with a little story. So before we get started, listen to this. Once upon a time, there was a giant so big and powerful that everybody knew the giant. People would work for the giant. People loved the giant, even worship it at times. Now, all of a sudden, a little fairy came flying to the giant and gave it a little pill. On this pill, with tiny letters, machine learning was written. Now, the fairy told the giant, if you take this pill, the pill will make you even much stronger and more powerful. But beware, the pill can also inflict severe pain upon you. How shall the story unfold? We will see next. So this is the little story that will basically guide us through our entire presentation. First of all, why should you listen to me? My name is Jan Zawadzki. I'm currently the acting head of artificial intelligence at the Car Software Organization, which is the central software development entity for the entire VW group, right? In my personal biased opinion, I think this is one of the most exciting projects to be undertaking worldwide. We will grow until 2025 to around 10,000 people who will, in a central manner, develop software for up to 10 million cars that are produced by the VW brand. So incredibly exciting, also very exciting challenges that are ahead, and I'm very lucky to be part of this. The presentation today is basically sliced into 3 parts. The first one is, what's the state of the automotive industry today? Why would you care about the automotive industry? And if we go back to our story, why is the main character of the story a giant and not maybe a turtle or a snail? Afterwards, I will talk about the potential impact that machine learning can have on the automotive industry. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the challenges, which in some cases abound. So let's first have a look about why you should care about the automotive industry and how disruptive machine learning could be. First, I want to take a look at the economic impact of the automotive industry. And without question, the automotive industry is one of the most important economic drivers of the world. What you see here on the left side is a comparison of market capitalizations by companies in the US economy by sectors, basically. Okay, what's market capitalization? It's how valuable the market thinks that a company is. So a company that's publicly traded has, I don't know, 1,000 stocks outstanding. If each stock is worth $10, then the market capitalization of this company would be $10,000. And what you see here on the left side is that the automotive industry is valued at over $1 trillion in the US sector. Now, this is important. I think it's somewhere in the middle in terms of importance when it's compared to other sectors. But what you also see on the left side is how valuable the market thinks that software companies are. Now, you cannot draw too many conclusions just from this one chart, but on this chart, it definitely looks like software is valued higher or is valued more explicitly than other sectors in the US economy. Let's make this a little bit more closer. Let's make this a little bit more local. What's the impact of the automotive industry on the German economy? Well, if you stack up the market capitalizations of German OEMs, then depending on how you slice the other companies, you can make the case that the automotive industry is the most important economic contributor to the German economy. Okay. Next, let's make this more personal and look on the impact that the automotive industry has on the people who are basically working in it. So globally, there are 9 million people employed by companies in the automotive industry. 9 million people are directly employed by the automotive industry, but even more people, 5x people, 50 million people are indirectly employed by the automotive industry, which means all businesses that are adjacent to the automotive industry, like car insurance, garages, repair shops, anything else, etc., people that work in automotive adjacent businesses account for 50 million people worldwide. And if you think about it, that's 1 in 60 people globally that is impacted by the automotive industry. Again, let's take a step closer to where we are currently based, to Germany. In Germany, the numbers are quite similar. We have about 800,000 people who are directly employed by the automotive industry, and indirectly we have almost 2 million people who are employed in the automotive industry. In Germany, the ratio is even more, is even tighter. It's 1 in 50 people who are directly impacted by the automotive industry. Next, let's look at the current status and where the economics are of the car industry. So what you see on the left side is global car sales, and what you can tell since 1990 until 2019. What you can see here is that global car sales have flattened, and even for 2020, also due to this pandemic that we're living in, the global car sales are not projected to rise incredibly, but again, decline by just a little bit. So global car sales are flat. On the other hand, there are several ideas of what can compensate this decline in car sales. And one of the ideas is mobility, right? So there are various studies. Here's one study by the OICE, I believe, which predicts that the demand for mobility is going to increase in the future. And nobody knows if mobility is really going to be the only answer, but what you can tell from the slide is that the demand for car sales is stagnating, while the demand for mobility seems to increase. Next, let's look at this little pill called machine learning and what it can do to the automotive industry. First, what is machine learning? In very simple terms, machine learning is nothing else than is good at nothing else but finding patterns in data, right? So imagine you have really large amounts of data, which is hard for humans to sift through and find the patterns. Machine learning algorithms are really good at finding the patterns. And then once they have identified the patterns, they can make cheap predictions of the future. And these cheap predictions, they can be integrated into products and provide value to the customers. Let's see how this machine learning tool can actually have an impact on the automotive industry. What you see here is a story that I also like to tell about how SoftBank values the potential of machine learning on basically any industry. And let's start here, and then I'm going to make the jump to the automotive industry. So SoftBank basically states that they want to invest in a future information revolution technology that brings happiness to everyone, and they see the largest potential in data and AI. They draw a comparison to the internet industry. So 20 years ago, there was the dot-com bubble, and shortly before the dot-com bubble burst, the market capitalization of privately held internet companies was around a 22x before the bubble burst. The problem was back then that nobody knew how to really create a solid business based from internet companies. What some investors were betting on, and what turned out to be right, but just took more time, was that the underlying driving factor was the exponential growth in internet traffic. And if we jump 20 years in the future now, the companies that have survived, the market capitalization of those companies has increased by a huge fold, by 1000x. And this graph also coincides with the exponential growth of internet traffic. And SoftBank draws parallels to basically AI businesses and AI machine learning driven businesses that operate today. So we see also a similar valuation multiple of 17x right now. And there might be a downturn or a down valuation of AI companies in the future. But the underlying driver of machine learning potential is the exponential growth of data. And the more data we have, the more potential there is to eventually create better products and more important and more impactful products. So this is the virtuous circle of machine learning, which I will keep on referring back to over and over again. So the virtuous cycle of machine learning basically tells you that once you have users, you can get the data, and then you can use machine learning to analyze the data to create a better product, which will in turn lead you to more users, more data, and an ever increasing product to attract more and more users. And this is specifically interesting for the automotive industry because cars have the potential to produce a plethora of data. Really, cars can produce large amounts of data in the future. And when we talk about machine learning in the automotive industry, people always like to think about automated driving first and self-driving cars. But we believe there's potential in almost every product, and every process to be impacted by machine learning. So what you see here basically is the structure, how the car software organization thinks about delivering products to the customers. And we are going to look in two of these products, for instance, intelligent cockpit and body and automated driving in a theoretical way. But the breadth is larger, right? So there are many other applications in the automotive industry that can impact from machine learning. The entire logistics optimization and production part is not even on here. So let's start with automated driving. When we talk about automated driving, everybody immediately thinks about robotaxis, or most people probably think about robotaxis. But robotaxis are not the only application of automated driving situations. We also have trucks, or in the logistics industry, we have the potential for autonomously driving trucks to have a huge business impact. And then we also have heavy weights machinery like tractors or autonomously driving mining trucks that can operate autonomously and thus create value. What you see here is the typical project management triangle. And what it tells you is that you generally want to produce a good at a low cost and probably also sell it at a low cost, ideally at a high quality, and ideally get it to the customer in a short amount of time. Traditional wisdom tells you that any product has to balance kind of two sides out of the three in the product development map. But let's see what's the case for autonomous driving. So cars today are, I would say, they can operate at a reasonably low cost, right? We have seen mass individual mobility. You can travel from A to B at a reasonably high quality, and you can also get from A to B in a reasonably short amount of time. How can automated driving technologies impact the project management triangle? Well, everything goes out, right? How can you decrease costs with automated driving? Research suggests that while a fare, I believe in New York, for a mile of or a minute in driving in a cab is about $1.50, automated driving can reduce that to about 50 cents. When you talk about quality, if you can just press a single button and you enter the highway and the car automatically gets you from A to B, that should significantly increase the quality of your travel, because now you can use the time for leisure and anything else that you would like to do instead of actively driving. And how can it basically decrease the time? At first, autonomously driving vehicles will be more cautious to actually also be safe. But in the trucking business, you can think about autonomously driving cars that drive for longer periods, and then they can seamlessly hand over on the exit of a highway to another driver to save the brakes that are required for human drivers. So machine learning can have a potential impact on how humans get from A to B, but I think it can also have a tremendous impact on the insides of a car, right? So today, in many cars, you can basically see lots of knobs and twists and turns. And to me, I feel like we get more and more knobs and twists and turns, but they are not necessarily self-explanatory. Ideally, a world that we could move into is a world where we can simply interact with the car, either through voice or any other way, and eventually that the car also knows exactly what we want, that it sets the right lighting conditions, that it sets the appropriate music channels, and automatically also gets you to the desired destination. So personalization in the car is also an area where I believe machine learning can have a tremendous impact. Now, coming back to our story from the beginning, we do now understand that there's a giant and he has this pill, but what are the pains that can be inflicted upon the giant when he's taking the pill? So next, let's talk about the challenges of the automotive industry. And we're especially going to focus on the holy trinity of machine learning, which is that machine learning needs data, algorithms, and the proper infrastructure or hardware. Let's start on the data side. So I mentioned this a few slides before, but autonomously driving vehicles, or basically any modern cars, they can potentially produce a lot of data. And what you see here is that it's estimated that modern cars can produce anywhere of between 4 to 10 terabytes of data. And that's a little bit hard to imagine how much it really is. But imagine you have a smartphone and you have around 256 gigabytes of memory storage. Then you could completely fill up until the brink 40 of those smartphones every single day. And now imagine that you want to search through that data, right? Let's say you want to get all of the selfies that you took 2 days ago. So you need to go through all the images that you took on all the 40 phones, filter by selfies, and then filter also by the date. And A, recording that huge amount of data, and then B, also working with that large amount of data provides challenges that are not so easy to exactly work with. What you see here is that cameras definitely produce a lot of data, and LiDAR also, depending on if it's going to be used or not. LiDAR is basically a sensor technology that shoots out little light beams, and then it can measure the distance more accurately to objects that are far away. The cost of sensors is also something that should not be neglected. So you do not need to pay too much attention to the exact numbers that you see here. They have developed a little bit in a different direction. Lots of sensors have gotten more cheaper and more reliable in the past, but the main challenge remains. Sensors for gathering data with a car remain incredibly expensive. And you always have to think about, let's say, a volume producing car, okay? So a volume producing car manufacturer can, let's say, produce a car for the cost of 29,500 euros and then sell it for 30,000 euros. So the margin at the end for like volume produced cars can be anywhere between 500 to 1,000 euros. And now if you want to include a sensor that is really expensive, that automatically eats away large chunks of the profit margin. So figuring out how to decrease the cost of sensors or to gather data also with other methodologies is a major challenge. Next, what you see here in the background in the GIF is how the car architectures and how the technologies in the car have evolved over the past decades. I believe the very first electronic module that was introduced in most cars was the radio module. And up until now, the amount of different modules and embedded devices that have been integrated into the car and have to integrate into the entire car architecture has just risen exponentially. This goes also along with the lines of code are currently being operated in modern cars. So modern cars have around 100 million lines of code in the car, which basically just shows you that there's a lot of code there. And the hard thing is that you have to orchestrate the different embedded devices and that you have to align the different embedded devices to seamlessly work together. And if all of this even would be dumped into a beautiful Kubernetes cluster for self-orchestration, even then it would be quite complex. Another challenge is how you develop machine learning-based applications. And how is machine learning? So my big point is that machine learning is not just another tool, right? This is something that you sometimes hear, oh, machine learning is just another methodology, it's just another tool. I believe that's not the case, because for machine learning, it's a paradigm shift. So in order to train those machine learning algorithms, you have to have large amounts of data available. And instead of a software developer to proactively create the software, you basically feed a lot of data into the algorithm, and the algorithm finds out that the software basically for itself. And that needs a different approach. And in itself, in its heart, machine learning is very agile and very data driven. So ideally, what you see on the right side is the machine learning workflow. First, you have to understand the business. Then you have to understand the data. Next, you have to prepare the data, create the model, evaluate the model, and at the end, deploy it. And even after you have deployed the model, so once it's actually operating in the car, you have to continuously monitor of how it's working. You have to observe on how its behavior is changing in the future. And so you have to close this basically loop. The way that traditionally software is developed in the automotive industry is along a more waterfall approach, right? So on the top left, you have to clearly define the requirements, then you have to create an architecture, then you write the code, then you test it, and then you deploy it in the car, and then you leave it, and then you let it be. And that's not really how machine learning works. So adapting the processes right now to deploy machine learning-based algorithms into safety critical situations is definitely something that is a challenge. While we talked about the architecture before and the processes, the architecture and the processes have to support the general machine learning workflow in the wild. So what you want to do is you want to have a model basically in the car, then you want to gather data, you want to store the data, then you want to retrain the model and also update the model eventually, right? And the car architecture or the architecture of cars from the hardware and software requirements has to reflect the requirements that we see here. So, and this should be, I believe, the last challenge that we will talk about, but I think it's a very, very interesting challenge. Making machine learning more interpretable and more robust remains a challenge in order to safely implement it. So what you see here on the left side is an example of research that was published in, I believe, 2016. And researchers have claimed that they have trained a neural network, a machine learning algorithm, that can identify if you're a criminal based on your passport image, okay? So what they did is they created a data set of, I believe, 1,000 images. And about half of those images were from people who were later convicted to be criminals. And half of those pictures were from people that basically were never sentenced to jail. And the neural network could predict if you're a criminal or not with almost 90% accuracy. And this obviously raises lots of ethical concerns. But I do not want to go into the ethical concerns. I want to go into the concerns about the product setup, because the way the experiment was set up was that it took official government IDs from the people who were convicted criminals. And then it took photos from people that presented themselves on the websites, for instance, on their business page or something that would be similar to, let's say, LinkedIn. Now, I want to ask you in the audience, who of you would put your driver's license photo ID on your LinkedIn profile, or basically anywhere where you would like people to like you? I definitely look like a criminal on my driver's license picture, and I wouldn't do that. But the main point of the story is basically the neural network, it could not differentiate if you are a criminal or not based on a picture. The only thing it could differentiate is if that was a government ID or if it was basically a business photo idea. And that's a very important decision and distinction that needs to be made. The second example goes along the same lines. So in 2016, there was a graduate research student who wanted to buy a husky online. And for whatever reason, he was scared that people would not sell a husky to him, but a wolf. So he gathered a data set and he trained a machine learning model to differentiate between huskies and wolves. And at the end of his study, he came to his professor and said, hey, I can basically differentiate between huskies and wolves with this cool neural network, and I get about 90% accuracy, and that's so great. And then the professor asked him the very important question, how do you know that the network actually learned what it was supposed to learn? They did an analysis. They did what you can see here on the right side. So they covered certain parts of the image. And what came out afterwards is that most of the images of huskies or of wolves have snow in the background, and of huskies, they did not have snow in the background. So this algorithm did not learn to distinguish between huskies and wolves, but between snow in the background and snow not in the background. And the industry and the research community has become even better and better over the past to distinguish, to make machine learning models more interpretable and more robust and more explainable. But I believe that more efforts and advances are needed in order to really safely deploy machine learning at scale. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation and the little story about the giant, the fairy, and the machine learning pill. You heard about why the automotive industry is important and how it impacts our economy, how it impacts our daily lives. You heard about what potential lies within using machine learning in the automotive industry. Automotive industry produces a lot of data, and with that, there's the potential to create very powerful machine learning applications in almost any product or process. And at the end, you also heard about challenges which remain in implementing machine learning in the architecture, working with the data, and making the algorithms more robust. I would like to conclude now today by basically thanking you for your time, thanking you for your attention. And if you can just take away with you that the automotive industry is a vital part of our lives, that machine learning can have a tremendous impact on the automotive industry, then I would like to encourage you to maybe also consider joining us at the Car Software Organization. If you go to the website digital-mind-off-mobility.com, you can find our current job openings, and I believe you won't regret it. Also, please reach out. I'm available on LinkedIn, Medium, and Twitter. I blog mostly about the topics of data science, business, and cars. And yes, I think I will be taking your questions now. Thank you very much. I think I actually I picked up some time, right?
Yes, so I just would beg you to stop your screen sharing. Awesome, great. So thanks very much for your very interesting talk, and sorry once again for the technical issues we had at the very beginning. Solved very good, thank you very much. So in the meantime, we also received some questions from our audience. So just let me go through it. The first question would be, which level of autonomy 0 to 7 cars have reached now in Volkswagen?
So I believe the levels of autonomy as defined by the SAE are between 0 to 5. And I believe we're currently offering level 2 and level 2 plus autonomously, like functions that are on the autonomous driving product landscape.
All right. What is your educated path to become data scientist?
That's a really good question. Actually, I was thinking about the question a lot recently. So I think there are many angles to that. I think depending on where you are, if you are an undergrad or graduate student, that I would highly encourage you to pay a lot of attention to the math and to the statistics, right? Because the math and the statistics part are what I have found out to be the parts that take the longest. So it's not so easy to pick up math and stats while you're working or along the way. You need to have a very solid foundation of the mathematical background for machine learning. If you can get that in undergrad and graduate studies, I think that will help you a lot. What you can pick up later and what you don't learn in school is engineering skills. So I would highly encourage the entire data science community and machine learning community to develop more into an engineering community. And there are many engineering best practices that we can learn from traditional software development. And we also need to embrace that in developing robust and reliable machine learning applications. Always remember that just training a model in Jupyter Notebook somewhere does not provide much value. You really need to create a model and deploy it eventually. And so what I would just suggest is picking out the project, either an open source project or a personal project, and going through the entire loop. Many data scientists, they stop after training a model, but you need to actually go through the entire loop of clearly defining the business case, training the model, deploying it somewhere, and then also monitoring it. And once you actually went through the entire loop, I think you have a very good basis understanding of how machine learning works and how you can provide value with it.
All right. So the next question is, what are you actually doing with machine learning in the Car Software Organization?
Well, we're doing lots of exciting stuff. I'm not sure how much I can officially share here, but you have seen before the 5 areas that we work in. So one is the connected car, one is intelligent cockpit and body, another one is automated driving. Then we have the battery management and basically and chassis and powertrain management part. And then we have the digital business and mobility parts. And in all of those 5 parts, it's quite easy to actually think of different products that can be worked on with machine learning. So we are working with machine learning. We're really excited to work with it, and stay tuned for the products to come out of our camp.
Cool, sounds awesome. Okay, Jan, so as we're actually kind of running out of time, so I would suggest we collect all further upcoming questions and forward them to you later on. Would be happy to get your feedback on the remaining questions as well. Once again, thank you very much for joining us and being the opener of today. We are getting ready for our next speaker, who will be Benjamin Gluser, talking on tour with Heroes, moving from Angular to web components. So we'll give you a short break and we'll come back again. And Jan, thanks again and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for having me, Gary.
Thanks.
Bye.
So, welcome back again. Next up is Benjamin. So he will talk about on tour with Heroes, moving from Angular to web components. And as you see, Benjamin is ready to start. And Benjamin, having said this, the stage is yours. Enjoy. See you later.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, nothing is as constant as change. Who would better understand that than us? Because we are developers. Front-end development is changing especially fast, with new frameworks and paradigms every new moon. We took a deep dive into frameworks like Angular during the last few years. We know every bit of it by heart, but technologies change. Hello, my name is Ben. I'm a software developer at Volkswagen, and this is On Tour with Heroes. Okay, great. So let me quickly talk to you about the agenda. What we're going to do first, I will quickly talk about the topic at heart, just to get you into what I'm actually want to talk about. Then we will discuss a very little bit about web components, why they matter, why we should look into them. And after that, we will spend most of our time live coding. So we actually write code in this talk. And after that, we will go over what we have learned, see if we liked it, what's good, what was bad. Yeah. And lastly, we'll have a quick Q&A session. Okay. Introduction. So we at Volkswagen use Angular in many of our projects. And I personally really like developing in it. It's awesome. But we never must stop learning, right? So in our department, the SDC, the Software Development Center, we actually take every second Friday off where we try to improve ourselves and try out new stuff. And that's why we call it actually our Innovation and Improvement Friday. It's a great opportunity. And this is actually what led me to try out this, these web components transformation. Okay, and as I've already said, the market of front-end development was actually dominated by these three for a long time. We have Angular, we have React, and we have Vue.js, and they basically dominated the whole market. There were actually quite very few alternatives in the production environments. If you take a look at the download counts for each of these, they are huge in comparison to other frameworks. The question now is if this will keep forever, because as already mentioned, nothing is as constant as change. So what is the problem with Angular? And I say problem in quotes, because as I said, I like problem. I like Angular. There is no problem with Angular. There are just differences on the scale, and you have to decide on trade-offs. So if we take a look at detail, we will see that with Angular, we usually have a huge size, big complexity, and dependency. When we develop our apps in Angular, we are dependent on Angular. We cannot move to React, for example, without huge migrations. I actually know of a product in Volkswagen that is stuck with Angular.js 1.6 for over 4 years now, and they can't migrate because they don't have the budget to do so. So is there a better alternative? The question, of course, can be answered with there are alternatives. One of these are web components, which, for example, strive to be not to be framework dependent. They are framework agnostic, meaning you write your code, your web component, and you can include it in any other app. So you can include it in your Angular app or, of course, in your React app. Doesn't matter. It's separate. It's framework agnostic. And this especially means, or usually means, that our web components are small, they are simple, and as said, framework agnostic. The simple part means that they don't solve these huge complex business logics that we usually do in Angular. They are more concise and focus on one singular problem that they try to solve. And for the developer who wants to develop them, it is simpler because they don't have to spend weeks learning the framework like Angular. The downside, of course, is that they are simpler. They are simpler means also that they don't have the same features as a framework would. And also, they are kind of hard to develop in vanilla JavaScript. If you ever try to do so, you're the man. But you can definitely do so, and there's actually a quite interesting movement under the hashtag use a platform. I personally just find it to be very hard to do so. Here's where frameworks like Svelte.js and Stencil.js come into place. These guys make developing web components really straightforward, really easy, and actually just a joy to do so. So I spent the last few Innovation and Improvement Fridays working with Svelte.js, and I kind of fell in love with it again. So today we will try to do something in Svelte. Moment. Warning, crazy live coding ahead. And as stated here, this is the part that never goes wrong. So please bear with me if I do something stupid, if I type wrong. It's a live demonstration and things will go wrong. Things will break. And also, I'm still new to this. Please don't take this as best practices or think that this is the way to go. This is just my first introduction to Svelte and my first ideas on how to do this. So maybe I'm doing some stupid mistakes. Maybe some Svelte gurus would pull their hairs out of their head if they see me. But anyway, this is just to have fun and see what it's all about. So are you ready? It's time to code. We see now the Angular app, which is called Tour of Heroes. It's a very simple app, and when you follow the tutorial for Angular and the learning path, you will actually develop this. It's very simple. You have a dashboard. You see a list of heroes here. You can add a hero here. You can also see. This is the dashboard where you see the top 5 heroes, and you can search for heroes like Narco, and you get a list of items that were matched. And if you get on here, you get to the details page. You can edit it, save it, and it has been updated. So this is what I want to re-event in Svelte. So let's do it. I will open up my IntelliJ. I hope you can see it. If you want to follow along, please do so. The first thing you would do is to scaffold the app. And to scaffold the app, this is very easy. You just open the terminal and just say mpx digit svelte.js template svelte. And this will scaffold the whole project, so you can just follow along. Also, the standards scaffold will be in JavaScript. I'm a big TypeScript fan, but you can transform it very easily. They provided a script. All you have to do is run node script setup script.js, and it will transform it with no problem. What you get when you scaffold the app and do all this is a package.json. And if we take a look at here, you will notice something very different from an Angular project. Actually, we only have dev dependencies. There are no dependencies. And the reason for that is because Svelte compiles it beforehand. So it's not like there's a request coming in and he's transferring it on the fly, interpreting it. It will be compiled beforehand. So you can just bundle it, copy it to your web server, and add it in any other project. Then we have an app Svelte, which looks like this. So as I said, this is the standard that you get once you scaffold the project. I did not change anything here. There's just the hello name and Svelte tutorial. I've actually have it running. So if we look at it in the browser, we can see that it looks like this. There's a title, and that's basically it. And this is this platform that we use to do what we want to do. Okay. So, sorry. Go back. We start by actually creating a store. And if you think about Angular, this would be what a service looks like. Our store, which I will create now. Hero store. Will provide a class for our heroes that we want to display. And our heroes actually have an ID. It's a string, fine. And they have an alias. also a string. And I also want the power level, so we can sort them and see who's the best of them all. Cool. Now that we've got that, we can actually export something that is called a store, and I will call this hero store. And in Svelte, it's called a writable. Of type hero. And a writable basically is something that looks and feels similar to an observable or in RxJS. So you can subscribe to it and you will get notified when things change in it. But please don't think of it as RxJS. It's quite different from that, as we will see. But for now, we have this. I start. This is the initial value with an empty list because we don't have any heroes yet. The heroes I want to show, I will actually fetch from a different server. So let's fetch them. And I have a simple, very simple Node Express application running in the backend, which will provide me with a list of heroes. So we fetch this, and then when we get the response, we actually want to have the JSON from this. And once we have this, we can actually set our hero store to the value of JSON heroes. The next thing, I want to show the top 5, the 5 with the highest power level. So in RxJS, we would just subscribe to this observable, we would pipe to it and make mapping operations or filter operations. Here we can do something very different and very cool. We can actually export a second store, which is called the top heroes. And we can derive this from our previous store. So we can say, please take all the values that are in hero store and when you get a hero, we make a little transformation. Sorry, we take the heroes and we will actually sort them by power level. And after we have sorted them, we will slice them. To only get the 5 of the highest. Let's see if I can make this a little more. Yes. Perfect. So now I have a store which can provide me with the top heroes, and I want to display them. So we can do this by just simply add a new component. And we create a file called top 5 heroes. And here, language is TypeScript. We actually import this. And once we have imported them, we can show them. So we start with an H1, top 5 heroes. we go through each of these heroes. Oh, sorry, I imported the wrong one. I wanted the top heroes, of course. And for each, I will print out a paragraph with the hero alias. Okay, and if the demo gods are happy with me, we should actually see this on our web page. Uh-oh. Okay, what was now? Let's see. Oh, yes, I know. I have created the component, but I'm actually not using it yet. So we have to go into our app and import it. So we want to import the top 5 heroes from components. I call it top 5 heroes svelte. And with that, we can actually use them. So let's see if we are now a little more successful. Yes. Also remove all the rest, sorry. And we see that the 5 best heroes have been loaded. But this looks a little bit funny and ugly. So I've prepared some little bit of styling. If we just take on our script from here and actually edit here. We just have to change our HTML a little bit. We want a div plus container. And here we want a div of class box. And here we want to span of class hero. Inside there, we will display our hero alias. And if we go back to the page, it looks a little bit better, nicer. So this is how we actually connect to a store, fetch data from a backend service, display it. Yeah, and as you saw, it's very little code, and we actually wrote the style just in place. Everything is concise, everything looks nice. Okay. Sorry. I see that time is moving fast, so I think I will skip a little bit ahead and show you what it would look like if we create another component which actually displays not the top 5, but all the heroes. So I will skip forward. Sorry, I've prepared this, of course. Let's go to step 2. Not so much has happened. There's a new component called list heroes. And the list heroes also imports the store from here. And it also has a local field heroes, which is exported. And export means that a parent component can actually set the value of these heroes list. So the idea is that a top level component will tell the hero list what heroes to display, and it will then actually do so. So we have a little bit of styling, and then again, we will have an unordered list where we show the power level, show the name. And this was added into the apps world, where we just changed it to import the hero list from here, import the hero store, then display the hero component under the top 5 heroes and give the value of the hero store into it. Also, please notice, I think I did not say this, there's a dollar here at the beginning, and this is actually where the magic happens so that we don't have to subscribe to our store. Svelte will take all care of everything without subscribing and unsubscribing from it. So that's awesome. I don't have to do anything. And if you take a look here, you actually see this is our top 5 heroes from before. And now we also have a list of all the heroes which were loaded from the backend and a little power indicator. Yeah. And also notice they are not sorted. They are coming or sorted in the order that the backend has provided them. So, but also we can see Jerry here is displayed as a first. And if you take a look, oh, that's strange. I think my sorting is broken, or doesn't really matter. We get to it a little bit. It should be actually the one with the highest power level. Okay. Now that we have the list of all heroes, let's create a component where we can actually edit a hero. So a hero details component if you want to. So for that, we will actually go back into our store implementation and create just yet another writable, namely for the currently selected hero. So we'll export const selected hero. This is a writable of type hero. And the initial value is null. We haven't selected a hero yet. Now in our heroes list, I want to actually have a click listener that when I click on one of these heroes, it gets selected. So we can actually then navigate to the details page and show the details of this hero. It's very simple. All we have to do is import the selected hero and also write a little function which can handle the selection. It gets a hero of type hero. And if we have this, we can actually say selected hero set the value to hero. So this hero that was just clicked. Also, a quick note, the writables give you two methods. One is set, one is update. The update method actually calls the set method, so it's just syntactic sugar, and I like to call the set method. Now, if we go to our list element, we can actually have a listener on click. And we just say, okay, select the hero. Handle select with the hero, with this very hero. Okay. And since we also have the top 5 heroes component, we should actually recreate this on this page as well, on this component as well, so we can also select the heroes in there. So let's do this. It's a little bit repetitive, so I'll copy it. So this will select here. Okay, very fine. So with that, we can actually select a hero. Now we need a new component to edit the hero. So let's do this. I call this hero details. And we have a script, TypeScript. I need to import the type. Hero store, perfect. And I also need to know which hero was selected. Great. And once I have these, I can just have two input fields. And we can bind the value to our hero alias. Let's have a little placeholder. Let's name your hero. And I also want a second input for the power level. And now that we have got this, we can actually use it in our app svelte, where we import the selected hero. And now we can check actually in our view if a hero was selected. And if the hero actually was selected, I want to show the hero detail, which I forgot to import. Sorry about that. Let's import it from. So we want to show our hero details. If the hero is our selected hero. Great. Let's see if it works. Oh. Okay. This might be a problem caching. No. Okay. I had this once and I don't know what it means, but sometimes he does not refresh the store once I've changed it. Okay. We have our components again, and if I select one of them, our details are displayed. Perfect. Also, if I select something from here, it changes to here. It's all fine and dandy, but I want actually to be able to change this and save this. So let's do this. Go back here, and we provide this in our hero store. So let's write an update function. Update hero. Take a hero. And we call hero store.update. In this update method, we can actually get the current hero, so the current value. Which is great, because now we can have a helper function called remove by ID, where we take a hero and we actually want to have the current heroes, and we filter them. And in the filter, we just look if the age ID is not equal to our hero ID. So we get each one which was not deselected, the hero to be updated. And now with that, we can return the new value. And for that, we just say, take everything which would be removed by the hero and place the new value from hero into this. Right, looks good. And also please note, this is just for demonstration purposes. In the real world, you of course would make a post to the backend service so that the backend server would actually write it to the database. But I should do this for speed and also to show you how you can use the current values in the store. Okay, so we'll go back into our hero details. And I want this update function. I think I can have Finn imported for me. Let's try. So if I say handle save, I want to update hero of hero. And for that, I will need a button. Where the on-click is actually the handle save. So save. And let's see if this works. If I select the mat dummy and I change the power level to 120, it gets updated here. Also, it was repositioned here. I can change the name. It is reflected in both of these. Let's give this 7,000. Oh, it works. Perfect. Okay, now looking at the time, I will skip ahead a little bit more. So in the next part, I added a little bit of navigation. So I say navigation in quotes because Svelte on its own does not bring you in routing or something that Angular would. There's a project, a cool project called Zapper, which is a little bit, the setup is a little bit different, but there you can have templated routes, just like in Angular, and everything would work fine. I just decided to not go this route and stay as close to the basic Svelte as possible. But also note that recently, Rich Harris, the founder of Svelte, has announced that Zapper will be discontinued and that it will be an integral part of Svelte itself. So this feature is coming. But for now, let's do a dummy implementation and work around this. So again, I will reset this. And I will go to step 5. What happened here is actually the hero details got a little function called handle back, which is called in the back button. And what's happening here, I have an event dispatcher. With these event dispatcher, you can fire custom events, so custom tailored events. So you don't have to rely on the events that the DOM is providing you. You can create your own, which is perfect. Because now, whenever the back button is clicked, I will dispatch the back event with a payload of null because I don't care. And if we take a look at our app, Svelte, we actually see sorry, it's, yeah, we actually see that, I'm losing my own code, sorry. Where was the code fired? Sorry. Ah, yes, sorry, I just forgot it. Here in the hero details, we are binding this custom event called back. And whenever the back function is fired, we will unselect the hero. So we say the selected hero store to just set the value to 0, which is perfect, because then the selected hero will be false, and we will not show the hero details. We go back to our previous view where we have the top 5 heroes and the heroes list. So let's see it. If we go back, if we select one of here, again, I'm not sorry. Did I reload the page? Perfect. If I click here, a hero was selected and the other page is no longer displayed, or the other components. I can make my edits. I can save, go back, and I'm back here again. It was added. And this way I can switch easily between the views or the different approaches to the components. Okay. And one last thing, as if you remember, on our tour of hero application from Angular, we had a little search field. So let's go to this guy. What happened here is our store got a little function called search hero. And this is where the derived stores are really shining. Because not only can I derive an observable from one store, but from multiple. So here I have a new writable called the search term. So whenever I input something in my input field, my component can then call the set method on the search term and set the search term. And each other component which listens to the search result or is subscribed to the search will be automatically triggered about the new found, because it's derived from these stores. So it will trigger on change automatically. And what we do here is we take our hero store, we take our search term, and put it in a little function. We have a helper function which checks if the term is actually empty, because if it's empty, we don't have to return any result, because there's guaranteed no match. And if we want to know if a match was found, we just check, hey, was the term empty and not empty? And also we take the hero alias to lowercase and look for index of the term to lowercase. So it doesn't matter if the user searched with lower or uppercase. And then we just filter our heroes for each one that matched. Okay, this is then added in a new component called hero search. And this is a fun one because, as you see, it is quite small and it has no real logic inside, because it uses all that was provided by Swerve itself. Namely, we bind the value of an input to the search term. So when we type, it automatically gets updated. And then we actually check if there were any search results. So if the length of the founds is more than 0. And if it is, we will reuse our heroes list to display this. Also, I took the approach a little bit further with the navigation and recreated this behavior in the app of the Angular app, where you can have a search only, and the top ones then search for something, find a hit, go to it, or also in the very top of the application, you have 2 buttons where you can switch between a dashboard and a heroes view. And this is where I just created an enum for the heroes and the dashboard view. And I keep track of the current view here. So I click on the button dashboard, changes the view to dashboard. Click on heroes, changes the view to heroes, of course. Now, if a hero was selected, it doesn't matter which view was selected, because we always want to show the details page where you can edit the hero. If no hero was selected, we look if it's a dashboard. If it's a dashboard, we show the top 5 heroes and the search. Otherwise, we show the list of all heroes. Yeah, and that's basically it. If we have a look, see it in action. So this is our dashboard. We can change to the heroes view where we see all heroes. We can go back. We can select a hero from the top 5. We can go back. And of course, we can also search for heroes. So let's search for Mad Dummy, or just search for something with A. Spaces are ignored because they trimmed away. And if I click on a search result, I also get here, can change the power level to over 9,000. And it was saved. Yeah, and that's basically the whole demonstration. Okay, I will go back to the PowerPoint. Let's talk about a little bit what we liked, what we didn't like. So the first thing that comes to mind is I really like that the framework is, it's actually no framework, it's a library, is very clean and small. So it does not provide you with any bloat. You will get a lot of very powerful tools, but it's not like the whole framework that Angular provides you with routing and stuff like this. It's a little bit smaller. It's very easy to learn. The syntax is very clean, and you get it in your head really fast. So yeah, I really liked it. And this is where I take over to the Q&A. Your thoughts? Or do you just want to say hello?
All right, thank you very much, Benjamin. Very interesting insights. So I would say we give our audience a little more time also to bring up some more questions. In the meantime, I'm gonna change to the slider view. So what's in there for now? Well, first of all, Anonymous says, thanks for the awesome talk.
Thank you.
Another Anonymous is asking, can you explain why you moved from Angular to web components instead of Vue.js or React? I'm more interested in the benefits of the change, also for the in-car apps.
Okay, so we did not move to these web components yet. This is just something that we try in our innovation and improvement and have a look if it suits us or not. So most of our products actually still use Angular or React or Vue. And as I said, we have deep knowledge in it. We know it by heart. It's proven time and time and again. This was just something that we want to try out and actually experiment with it and see if this is something that we could use for our products in the future. But basically, from my point of view, yeah, I don't have a strong opinion if like React is better or Angular. It doesn't matter to me. Both have their strengths and weaknesses, to be honest. I have not yet been so deep into React, but I know of a lot of colleagues who love React. Same goes for Vue.
Mm-hmm. All right. So another compliment from Niket, beautiful demonstration. And the question, what was the meaning of 101 in the program line to sort hero? What does hero.alias stands for?
Hero alias? Or what was it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the very beginning, I created this model of the hero, and the alias is just the name of the hero. So when we search for the hero, I basically want to search for the name of the hero. Maybe here a name would have been a better speaking name or something that would have to be explained, but it was like the idea that the hero should be anonymous, so it's just as an alias of Mad Dummy or something like that.
Okay, cool. All right. So, and another question also from Niket. What is the difference between Flutter and this programming tool?
The difference of what? Sorry.
The difference between a Flutter and this programming tool.
Oh, sorry. I have no experience in Flutter, but maybe this is something for the next innovation improvement. I will definitely look into it. Thanks for the hint.
Cool, awesome. Okay, so for now, there are no more questions. If more questions will come up, we will also collect them and send it to you, Benjamin. So
Thank you.
thanks again for your talk and spending your time with us together. Next, coming up in a few minutes at 3:30, we will have Tom George talk about shared mobility for everyone. But you have some minutes left. Get a cup of coffee or grab a glass of water, and we'll be back soon again. Thanks, Benjamin. See ya. Bye.
Thank you. See you.
Hello everyone and welcome back. So next up on our program is Tom George with Shared Mobility for Everyone Insights. Tom is the co-founder of Sales Code, and as they have launched a shared mobility platform recently for the first customer. So just be curious and yeah, we'll be excited what Tom is gonna show and tell us. So Tom, then the stage is yours. Just enjoy.
Cool.
Thanks and see you later.
Thanks, Stefan. So first of all, thanks for having me. Super excited to share some learnings. Let me share my screen as well as the learnings. One sec. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. And I want to talk to you about, shared mobility. But before I get to that, probably just a short personal introduction. My name's Tom George. I spent the last 7 years working in the automotive industry for the Volkswagen Group. And I spent the last basically 4 years, very fortunately, being able to specialize in building up software development capabilities and teams in basically 3 different locations. So I built the software development center in Wolfsburg for Volkswagen. I had the real joy of being sent to Lisbon in Portugal to do a similar thing for Volkswagen Digital Solutions there. And today I'm in Barcelona building SEAT Code. So SEAT Code is SEAT's software development center, created last year. And we're really helping the company, not just in terms of building software, but really boosting a digital transformation and really helping with getting to grips with an agile mindset and an agile delivery mindset and now already 90 people, having a huge amount of fun and a lot of learnings along the way. And I want to share some learnings specifically about the SEAT Code Mobility Platform. Okay, so we have a way cooler name than SEAT Code Mobility Platform, but I've been told I can't share it because we don't have all the trademarks yet. So I'm going to refer to it as the SEAT Code Mobility Platform. So I want to basically take the next 30-ish minutes to explain to you probably 2 or 3 different things. So first of all, I want to just give you a bit of context. Why are we building it? What's the why behind this? So let's say really to give you a feel for the what we believe is the problem space. Then share a little bit about what we've built and give you a flavor for that. But really my focus is, and what I want to do is to share a little bit about how we work, and more importantly, the learnings that we've had building so far. So we've created or are creating a real culture that celebrates learning as one of the sort of key pillars of the way we work. And therefore, it's quite right that we're going to share all of the different learnings we have. But before we get to that, I want to take you to this problem space. Okay, so why is mobility, or why is shared mobility important? Okay, so I've got some light maths. Okay. Okay, so number 1 topic, parking. So if you live in a big city, or even a not big city, parking typically sucks. So I think most people who drive a car are quite well aware of this. I know in Barcelona it sucks extremely hard. So I know that in Barcelona, for example, over 95% of the roadside parking spots are used at any one time, so it gets really difficult to find parking spots. And I went and did a little tiny bit of digging to find some data that might be interesting to kind of understand the problem space more concretely. And basically, I found in the UK they have a good online website for sharing this info. Typically, people in the UK make 580 trips a year And each of those, at the end of each of those, they typically take about 4.5 minutes searching for a parking spot. So not massively complicated mathematics, right? If you're taking 580 lots of 4.5 minutes, you end up with 44 hours of wasted time just parking a year. And 44 hours, basically a whole work week, a whole 5 days of time, of your time or of our time, basically just wasted, and normally frustratingly wasted, where you're going around in circles and trying to find somewhere. And so that's, that sucks. And I think in big cities, what we're experiencing is typically it's just getting worse. On a similar vein, you can probably see where I'm going with this, but in big cities and in small cities and in general, traffic is not getting better; it's getting worse. There's more vehicles on the road, and getting stuck in traffic is typically it's a Sod's Law thing, right? So at least I know personally for myself, the more important it is that I'm somewhere on time, the more likely it is I'm going to get stuck in traffic, usually very frustratingly and stressfully. And what we see is actually, if you look at the same stats, it's a similar thing, 580 trips. But this time, typically per trip, you're losing 12 minutes in traffic, right? So if forgetting the stress and the fact that it gives you gray hairs, or in my case, no hairs, you're losing 12 minutes per trip. And if you run the maths on that, it's 115 hours per person, right? So that's 14 work days a year, right? So the combination of, let's say, the parking thing and the traffic thing, you're basically losing more or less a month's worth of your valuable time. And for me, that's mind-blowing, right? I mean, you think about where we're always talking about efficiency and trying to improve our lives and improve our work efficiency, and then we basically see we're losing a month's worth of time, parking, and the joke is that that's actually our personal time we're losing mostly, so even more valuable. Okay, so that's the sort of second problem associated with, let's say, the current state we have, and the third one I wanted to share with you is actually, way heavier, I think is probably the right way of saying it. So parking sucks, traffic sucks, but in the big cities, one of the worst things that we're seeing, and not just the big cities, also in smaller cities, is just how bad pollution is. I mean, pollution sucks even harder than parking or traffic, right? So you might not necessarily notice it the same way, but I know that one of the small benefits of the whole COVID lockdown, at least in Barcelona, was when we've all been locked down for a week or two, and there was almost no one doing anything. The air in the city was amazing. It's like being in the mountains, and super nice. And it really brought home for me, how much in the day-to-day maybe you don't even notice the pollution, but I wanted to make sure that I brought some actual facts for you so that we can sort of talk about or understand, okay, what is the real impact? And to be honest with you, it blew me away. So I basically went and looked for data that was reliable. And here, what I found was there's a recent European Union report, the EEA report number 21/2019. And they found that in Europe, and this is just Europe, where actually the air quality isn't as bad as some other places around the world, that 400,000 people die early deaths each year because of air pollution. And that, that's a staggering fact, right? So, yeah, I mean, not only staggering, but really, really tragic. And if you think about the context of COVID and people dying and how worried we are about that, in some ways, it's kind of crazy that we're not as worried or as let's say, pushing harder on this topic. So 3 kind of sucky things. One, suckier than the next all the way through. I didn't come though and produce a slide pack just to bum you guys out, guys and girls out. So I wanted to just show, you know, part of the why of why we're doing this. And it's not all bad, right? So on the positive side, there is a positive side. So, you know, if you think about where we've been and where we are today, actually, there's a bunch of reasons to be positive. Amongst them, a whole bunch of electric vehicles, right? So we've got not just, let's say, some fantastic Seat and Cupra brand, which is where I'm working right now in terms of electric motos and kick scooters, and also the beautiful Cupra Elborn, but we have across our Volkswagen group some really cool electric cars. And you know what's really positive is that if you look from now going forwards into the next years, there's just this onslaught, this huge wave of electric cars coming, not just from the Volkswagen group, but let's say from all the major players in the automotive industry, which for me is a brilliant thing. I mean, if you think about, especially, you know, the topic of air quality, it's a brilliant thing. And if you take a look at why now suddenly now in the last, you know, 2 or 3 years have electric cars been a thing, you got to look one deeper, and basically it's about battery capacity. Okay, so here's a graph. Actually, it's a little bit old. It stops in 2015, but it's let's say it's reliable, solid data. It took me a while to find something where I could really, you know, basically be sure that this was a good set of facts. And this one comes from the Journal of Solid State Electrochemistry. And what you see is that, you know, energy density in the batteries that we're developing is increasing, you know, in a really positive way, and that's a huge positive. I mean, that's such a good thing. And what we see is, you know, I mean, you probably experienced this as well. I've got a Huawei phone. Oh, you can't see it. I got a Huawei phone here. And I swear to God, I bore my whole family almost every day about how the battery lasts a couple of days now, where, you know, more or less 2 or 3 years ago, that was definitely unheard of in the mobile phone world. Well, not since Nokia dumb phones, but the point is that what we're seeing is that the energy density in terms of battery capacity is increasing year on year, and that's giving us an extremely good point to be in terms of electrification of our vehicles, and looking forward extremely positively. But today we want to talk about shared mobility, right? So the other big trend that has, let's say, brought us to where we are and influencing us, of course, is connectivity costs, and in particular, mobile data and mobile connectivity costs. So this graph, again, I'm trying to sort of have really reliable data rather than my own graphs and let's say making facts up. And here what you see is basically, this is the ITU data across the whole world in terms of how much a gigabyte of mobile data costs. And in fact, actually the black line that you can see on the graph represents a break. So up until that point in 2000, I guess mid 2017, 2018, they were measuring the cost for 1 gig, and then after that they were measuring the cost for 1.5 gig. So in fact, actually the curve would look a whole lot better if it was let's say taking that into account. The topic is obviously for IoT, you don't need a gig of data, you need, you know, very small data, and the message here is that connectivity costs, especially for IoT devices, has dropped massively to the point where now we can actually you know, do really cool things like have vehicles online, and that enables us basically to start creating these shared mobility platforms or shared mobility services. So you know, we're all familiar with Bird and Lime and those types of offerings, and that's just the start. And what we see is that shared mobility has a huge opportunity to really, you know, solve some of these problems that we're seeing in cities. So, you know, especially in terms of parking and traffic, you leveraging shared mobility has huge potential for benefit. And because now we find ourselves in a situation we can do it, that means that as SEAT Code, and I guess as the Volkswagen Group in general, we're now at this point where we can start really focusing heavily on it. And I want to talk to you about what we believe our vision is and what we want to do. So I'll show you our vision. So I hope it's kind of readable, but if it's not, maybe just for those who can't, see it. So we want to significantly improve customer and citizen mobility, in cities by offering sustainable services and creating a platform for shared mobility. That's nothing new, but what we're really focused on is drastically reducing the cost and complexity that there is in let's say in the world of operating shared mobility. We want to really drastically reduce or drastically improve how easy it is for people to operate shared mobility. And question why? Well, we want to solve, let's say, the problems around parking, traffic, and pollution. And what we've actually realized is, if you take a look at the demographics in Europe, it's not just big cities. Okay, in Europe, about 12.5% of the population, live in big cities, and the rest, a much bigger proportion, live in smaller cities and towns. And that means if you want to have a really significant impact on shared mobility for a significant amount of the population, you don't want to just do it in the big cities. The trouble is that in a big city, if you have, let's say Barcelona, where we have direct experience, Barcelona's big enough with enough people that it's worthwhile for you to invest in the motos, build up all the R&D knowledge associated with connecting those motos, build a software to run it and run the operations, and more or less you can make money with that. Problem is that doesn't translate to small towns or small cities, right? So no one's going to be able to justify the R&D investment or the software teams to build that. And consequently, what you see today is that mostly shared mobility and shared services in the mobility space are really focused on the big cities. And I think that's a real shame. So, when I was saying about our vision, what I was really trying to say is that we believe, we have to create something that's going to make it really, really easy for people to start sharing and start creating sharing services in their towns. I mean, my dream is that really it should be trivially easy to set up a mobility shared service in a small town. So, whether it's Braunschweig or wherever, that you can have something, really easily set up and operating and therefore benefiting people, both, directly in terms of having great options for moving around, and also in terms of reducing the traffic and the pollution. So, yeah, so we're building this platform, which has a really cool name, but I still can't share. And I want to just show you a very short video about it, okay? I'm just thinking, I don't know if Stefan or Vesela, you're in the call. Can you hear the audio on that? Or anyone want to give me feedback? I think they can't. Yeah, so we're cool. Sorry, everyone, just wanting to make sure that you could hear the sound. So I just had to reshare my screen. Hopefully it's going to be working now, okay?
We have undertaken to change how the future is written. SEAT Code presents the Future with an M, the brand's new mobility platform. If the pace of our society is to remain dynamic, it must be made sustainable. Because our world depends on how we move, we have developed a comprehensive mobility platform focusing on the challenges in our society. A platform that adapts to suit the needs of our customers, compatible with any brand on the market. A service that uses Internet of Things technology to connect with any of the alternatives available in 100% electric vehicles, scooters, bikes, motorbikes, or cars. A platform ready to provide valuable information both to the end user and the operators of the responsible company. An effective and easy-to-use app for your customers. A complete system that monitors your fleet with crucial data in real time and that empowers you to take business decisions. SEAT Code Mobility Platform. Move the future.
Okay. So I like that video, and I know that, and I apologize for, let's say, the sales pitch, but we're really proud as a team, and that basically, let's say, concludes what I want to do in terms of intro around, why are we doing it and what are we building a little bit, okay? And really now I want to focus a bit more on how we're working, introduce you to the team, and then also talk about our learnings, okay? So. Okay, number one, like I told you, I've had the pleasure of building three teams or software companies, and number one rule, the most important thing, if you want to be successful, you want to build good software and you want to have fun doing it, is that the team is first. So here, well, it's easy to say team first, but what does that mean? We focus a huge amount of energy on constructing and supporting the growth of a really healthy culture with our team in terms of very strong focus on learning and celebrating learning, both in terms of helping people learn and do courses and all that sort of stuff, but also sharing knowledge within the team. So we have lunch and learns and things like that, which really good opportunities for people to share let's say knowledge with each other, and the culture goes beyond that. And I think one of the most important things is around kindness. And if you talk with a team and you hire and build a team who are human with each other and bring kindness and let's say empathy to the team. Number one, it's a pleasurable place to work because everyone really enjoys working there, and number two, you can be extremely successful, which is really good, right? So teams, I don't have everyone's photos there, but let's say that some of them. So we've got about a team in the mobility platform space of about 35 people who are helping us build our mobility platform. So how do we work? Well, here is like super nothing out of the ordinary, but I feel like we do a good job of doing it, what we say we're going to do. So three things on this slide, okay? For sure, in the space of understanding a problem space, we often look to use design thinking in terms of the double diamond approach around discovering problem space, defining what really is the problem, and then getting into the solution space, diverging, converging, to get to a real good understanding of what it is that we should do. Then let's say on the right hand of the screen, you have not the full but an excerpt of the Agile Manifesto, and one of the big learning journeys that I personally have been on over the past years, being involved, with building and running software development teams, is that Agile really is a mindset as much as it is any type of process. And in fact, actually, if you look at the manifesto here, you got individuals and interactions over process and tools. So when people focus a lot on, oh, are you a Scrum house, or you're an XP house, or do you use Scrum Ban or whatever, I think we're focusing perhaps on the wrong aspect of the way we work, which is baking it back down to that mindset and focus on those important things. Individuals and interactions, working software, customer collaboration, and being able to respond to change. And I think one of the things that's making us successful building the mobility platform that we're building, and also, let's say, in the wider SEAT code, is really sticking very closely to those agile basics. And then in the center, probably I think one of the most important concepts that you find in software development these days. In fact, actually, it doesn't even need to be software development. It can be much wider applied, but is, let's say, the lean startup concept, or the lean software development concept around build, measure, learn. I actually had the fortune to, before I worked in software development, or before I worked in the automotive industry, to spend a lot of time working in the mining industry in Western Australia, where they really embraced, let's say, the lean methodology. And so for me, this is a very natural thing as well, this build, measure, learn, which is really around getting really involved with the work you're doing and making small changes and understanding, are they improving us? And of course, in the software development space and how we're working, all those good things, getting an MVP out there, really, seeing, okay, what is used or what isn't used, and being quite ruthless about, measuring and focusing on the next things. So, those are the three pillars, I guess, or the three major pieces of how we work, all surrounded by, let's say, a culture of feedback, honesty, kindness. Those are such important things to build a kind of trustful and enjoyable place to work. So that was what I want to show you about how we're doing our work. Of course, I also want to show at least one slide of the tech we're using. Yeah, what to say. So one of the big things, so number one, you're all working in the software development space. You're looking at this list. There's nothing super, let's say, out there or crazy. This is all, let's say, modern software development. I think one of the things that we have, really invested a lot of time, or not necessarily a lot of time, but a lot of focus and energy on over the last period working in this mobility platform, has been the infrastructure as code part. So, with the Amazon Web Service Cloud Development Kit, super cool, super cool, just to be able to create your infrastructure as code and really to treat it like nothing else, treat it exactly the same way as you would with code. I mean, the rest of the things, we're using GitHub Actions, which is, I think, super cool, but also a little bit expensive. The topic is, I think the rest of it's pretty straightforward. What else can I tell you? Yeah, so one thing that's really cool that we've found is that, we're using Kotlin, obviously, well, not obviously, but we're using Kotlin in the back end. And that's cool because we're also obviously using it to develop our Android apps. And it's allowed actually some of our developers that are working in both of those spaces to be able to cross over, which is not something you typically would see. And I think it's actually been really, really cool. We aim for in our teams to have these, so-called T-shapes that are, really widely experienced, but strong in one particular area. And things like that have really helped us help the team to be able to grow and learn more, which is super cool. Amplitude Analytics, man, that's a cool product. So we're in love with it still, using it extensively in what we're building, and the feedback also together with our business partners has been extremely positive. So we're big fans of that. The other couple of things that we're doing, again, like super nothing new, but also really important, is we're really leveraging domain-driven design as kind of one of the core ways of working or thinking. And what we haven't done, we haven't built a set of microservices at this point, because with the modularity, we've really focused just on good modularization of let's say, I won't call it necessarily a monolith, but a good modularization of the code we're creating, so that we can, in the future, once we see enough load on the system we're building, then really make sure that we spin out the right bits as microservices at the right time, so we're not having unnecessary complexity right now. So that was the tech slide that I wanted to show you. Probably one of the longest slides that I had to create, because I had to find all the icons. It took me ages, which is a bummer. But anyways, all of this because I wanted to talk to you really about the learnings, right? So let's take a look at the learnings. So, by the way, I don't know who has seen this quote from Henry Ford, but I think it's a cool quote, right? So, anyone who keeps learning stays young. Well, I'm getting older, so my only hope is to keep learning, I guess. But I think, I talked to you a minute ago, right? Was explaining a minute ago that, we really focus on team first and our culture, and learning culture is a really core part of that. So, I guess when I'm interviewing people and hoping to get people into the team, one of the most important things I'm looking for is, are these people, or is this person, really passionate about learning? And I think consequently, I wanted to share some of our learnings about, what we've been doing and what we've learned so far on the journey. These are, by the way, are in no particular order, and feel free to ask me afterwards more questions on them or clarifications, but I'm just going to dive straight into them. Okay, so first one, and this is probably just because certainly the team we had were that we've built mostly new to the space, is just that IoT is inherently and very often frustratingly unreliable, and so that means when you're building software, you really have to deal with different paradigms in terms of, let's say, managing that, because you can't rely on it like you can other types of connections. So I think that's been a big learning for us, where we at first were kind of treating the IoT endpoints very much like any other type of endpoint, and they certainly aren't. So that's, I think, has been a big learning for us, and quite often a big source of frustration. Then we had basically, this is one that I think, well, we're really lucky because we have a very, let's say, very enthusiastic and very agile focused and agile mindset team. We basically had to restructure ourselves. I think we're on our third restructure already in terms of, working as teams. You get to a certain size, you obviously need to work as teams. And we started off in this kind of mobile app and platform teams. And, we grew and basically realized that that wasn't a really smart way of doing things. And in fact, actually, we reached into our domain-driven design toolbox and realized that, bounded context is a really important thing. And it's also a really good way of figuring out the right team structures. So, that's been a really cool learning for us, and certainly also for me personally, is that, it's a great way to try and figure out the right team structures. So yeah, that has that's brought us a long way in terms of allowing people also to be more domain specific and specialize more in a certain domain of the work they're doing. Okay, I mean, we're doing this whole thing remotely. I'm talking to the void, so I know that some people out there, but I'm just seeing no one, which is super weird. So we all know that, let's say, remote work has impacted our lives. The interesting thing in terms of learnings for us has been that it's impacted us, but not necessarily negatively. We had to learn how to work better. I mean, we were already doing, let's say, a remote friendly style of working where people probably would be home 1 or 2 days, or working from where they wanted to for 1 or 2 days a week. So it wasn't a massive shock to move to fully remote, but there's more to it than that. So we know that just doing your work remotely and not coming to the office isn't isn't enough to make up the gap, because when you're in the office, you have all these small interactions that you don't have at home. So when you're at home, you're really focused on your work and doing your thing. And even if you're doing Zoom calls all day, it still doesn't make up for those small interactions. And this is one of the big learnings we've had, is around just the importance of really pushing the communication to the next level when it comes to sharing and kind of oversharing information about how we're working, what we decided, and really also over the last while kind of fell in love a little bit with Notion in terms of documenting stuff and sharing kind of in a really good way with the team. So that's been one of the learnings. Yeah, what else? So I know this is WeAreDevelopers, but sometimes the best thing you can do is not develop software. Okay, so this has been a learning for us as a team, quite a big learning actually. That we had this very ambitious goal to launch a particular service. This motor sharing in Barcelona is kind of our first service on this platform by August, and we're so kind of focused on the fact that it's really tight deadlines. We've got to run like hell, that we didn't at all stop to look at some particular parts of what we're building and ask ourselves, look, is there somewhere we can consume that already as an API if we buy a service, and once we have everything live, then figure out which ones we want to, let's say, optimize and replace because we believe we want something different, or because it's too expensive, or what have you. And I think one of the things that learning for us on that one is, if you find yourself running like hell in a product team or in that space trying to deliver something, it's definitely worth taking a step back and figuring out whether there's services out there that you can consume and kind of save yourself the work or delay the work for later, because I think we probably didn't do a very good job on that, and we probably could have benefited from doing more of it. Yeah, so group of people is not necessarily a team. True words, right? So everyone knows this. I mean, we've done, we've grown quite rapidly. So we've almost doubled the size of the team over the past probably 9 months, and that doesn't come without sort of price, without cost, because suddenly you have this influx of additional people who both take a toll on the existing team for getting them up to speed, and also, if you hire a lot of people at the same time, they don't know each other, and you've got this kind of whole influx of new ideas and new concepts and new cultures and new relationships, and it's such an important thing to take the time to really help the team grow as a team. And I think that's something that we've learned probably. It's taken us a little bit of time to really focus as well as we should have done on some of those aspects. I mean, we're blessed, like some of the other Volkswagen Group locations, to have a happiness manager. So Lucia, our happiness manager, is super awesome and really does a great job of let's say, helping building the team spirit and doing all these small things to make people really feel part of something special. And I think yeah, that's been a learning we probably should have focused more on initially. Okay, source of daily pain for me. Obviously, if you're in a big automotive company like SEAT, or indeed the Volkswagen Group, many people have many great ideas about how to extend what we're building or to do next. What does that mean? If you're not careful, it means chaos and let's say unsustainable culture for the development team, right? So, what we've really had to focus pretty heavily on is building a prioritization process for the backlog. Let's say at an epic level where we're kind of able to push back a little bit in a very kind and polite way, to be able to sort of say, hey, look, that sounds like a great idea, but let's look at what the business value is and really bring it back to that whole build, measure, learn thing. So that's been a learning, because at first we didn't have a very strong process in place, and we really needed to let's say strengthen that. Yeah, build, measure, learn. Okay, so we've along the way, we've learned some really cool things about, what's good to measure, at a team level. And I know it's one of the permanent things that people roll their eyes at, or software devs or people in software development roll their eyes at when, manager comes around the corner and says, okay, well, how are we going to measure efficiency? And it's, the dreaded talk about lines of code or even velocity or what have you. I mean, things that, to people who work daily in this space, are basically not good measurements, right? But that doesn't mean there aren't any. And in fact, actually, we found one that's particularly useful is around measuring the, let's say, the cycle time. So looking at how long does it take from, let's say, a story that fulfills the definition of ready in your backlog to come back out as a definition of done piece of software. And that's a really good metric because, fundamentally, you probably want it to be shorter. So short is good in that sense, right? And that actually promotes good behavior in terms of, it promotes the product owners to write shorter stories, which makes it quicker to be able to get something from, let's say, in the backlog into real life, into production. So, it's super important to spend some time to think about what you want to improve, and then obviously you need to measure it. So yeah, we've come a long way in terms of the KPIs we've managed to identify there. Okay, yeah, communication. I mean, I think I don't know how many of you, let's say, that are on this stream or in this call or whatever you want to call it, are suffering from, let's say, the communication topic. It's a big topic, right? Especially moving into this COVID. Again, a lockdown for a lot of people. Certainly, I'm here. I don't know if you can see behind me. If I move my head quickly, you can see the Frozen poster from my daughter. I'm sharing a room with her at the moment, office / 4-year-old bedroom. When you're locked down and you're working remotely, communication is just so much more important. And I think, I touched on that before, massively important to, especially if you're in a leadership role in the software space, just double down on the communication. It's surprising how much of what you think everyone knows, people don't know. And certainly, I continually have to relearn this. So, even there's times when you think, how can that be that you don't know this, but you realize that, you have to communicate like hell at the moment. I think that's probably one of the big challenges for everyone. Okay, so normally in a room right now with a bunch of you, I'd ask, okay, how many of you are working on products that aren't live? And you probably would see a bunch of hands. We had a tough experience here, or let's say a good learning. We built a product and we're literally days before launching it for a particular car sharing service, and COVID hit and there was a lockdown and it didn't get launched, and in fact actually it died in total. And one of the things that I believe is that if you don't have your product live, I know this sounds crazy, but you don't have your product live, it just doesn't exist. And I think what's the learning there is push like hell to get something live, even if it's much smaller than you'd be comfortable with. It's better to have something live and start getting users, start getting learnings, and really making it visible for your whole team, whether especially in the business side, that they really see there's something there. Okay. And okay, so I got to the product ownership one. Okay, so product ownership is a learning for me. So I come from, I originally started working in ISPs right at the beginning, but I spent a number of years in the enterprise world since then. And enterprise, a lot of big corporates and enterprises do this thing where they're doing agile software development, but they have the business and you're delivering software for the business, not for yourself, and that's what I would call contract software development, right? So you're building something for someone else. So they're giving you let's say the requirements and you're building to it. That's fundamentally different to pure, real product ownership, where you as a team as a software development team, own the product and own the decision making around that product, right? So yeah, I mean, product ownership is tough, but it's very rewarding. And really, I wanted to share my learnings, but particularly I want to give you this takeaway, okay, around product ownership. And I'll come up to the last slide, and then I'd love to have some questions. Product ownership. Okay, number one, when you really truly have product ownership, like I was explaining, where you're making decisions and and there's no other the business in your world, but you are the business, then it's super cool because it's purely your baby, right? And huge kind of feeling of pride and buy-in to what you're doing. And in fact, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see Choose there, who's a super cool, let's say Android or Kotlin developer in our team, this is a photo of his from Twitter, super motivated to be building our product. And I wanted to share, 2 or 3 learnings about product ownership. Okay, so yes, fantastic product ownership, your own baby, it's brilliant. But of course, if you've been used to working for the business, there's a whole bunch of things that you now have to take care of that you didn't before, right? So yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. So now you've got to find customers and you've got to find out what they need and build a product that can fit their needs, right? You have to prioritize your own backlogs. You haven't got anyone else telling you what's important. It's down to you, and oftentimes that can be super stressful because, well, you have to make decisions and compromises and live with those as a team. There's no one else to say, oh well, they stuffed up, it's not our fault. And so for sure that can be challenging and stressful, right? But on balance, having true product ownership for the product you're building is truly amazing, right? It's a lot of fun and a lot really freeing, right? So you see the direct results because it's your decision. You can see those, let's say, see those taking effect. I talked to you before about build, measure, learn. This is really the model that works with build, measure, learn. When you own the product and you can make decisions, you can build those, you can measure those, and you can learn from them, you can continue. And, for me, this is the first time that I've been able to work really truly in this type of product ownership space, in a big corporate like the Volkswagen Group and like SEAT. And man, it's cool, right? So I want to leave you basically with this last thought, which is, if you are working in a team right now, wherever, and you're working for the business and you're building a product for the business, you should make it your goal to work in a team that owns the product. So either try and figure out how to get the product and own it, or figure out to work in a different team where you really have that product ownership, because it's the best way to be working, and you'll have a hell of a lot of fun doing so. So with that, I'm finished with my presentation. I'd love to take some questions.
So, thank you very much, Tom. Our pleasure to have you here in our WeAreDevelopers live stage, and thanks for your very valuable insights. Our audience is also pretty active, and we have a couple of questions. So let's start with the first one. So David wants to know how harmful electric batteries are after they are empty and have to be left somewhere.
Well, that's a great question. I would plead slightly the fifth that I'm a software guy, not a battery chemist. I did work in the mining industry, so I know a little bit about raw earth, let's say mining and stuff like that. Look, I mean, I think there's no perfect option for this stuff, right? It's just that I think on balance, most people think these days that the overall, let's say, total environmental impact around let's say battery electric vehicles is lower than combustion. But here I'd have to plead the fifth a little bit in terms of being able to offer professional advice on that one.
All right. So another question, well, actually it's more kind of feedback from Niket, who says, I did similar calculation on time I spent on railways bridges while commuting to office in peak hour. Now the question is gone. Sorry for that. I'll just go on to the next one, which
Sure.
is how this mobility platform care about user privacy, where they go,
Yeah.
etc.
Where the goal is, I didn't catch that last bit. Where the goal is, can you just repeat the sentencing? Sorry,
Yeah,
Matt.
sure. So how this mobility platform care about user privacy. So an example of where they go.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so I think so we have to collect some data, right? So you need to know, for example, when you're running a service, you need to know whether a user is near the vehicle that they want to take, right? And let's say for making sure that in the event of an accident that you know where someone is, you need to be able to track that as well. But you know, I mean, this is classic kind of GDPR and making sure you've got consent for the different things. You know, we're obviously very careful to make sure we have the right consents for that. But I mean, this is one of those spaces where you really genuinely do need people's locations, because you're talking about moving from one location to another.
All right. David wants to know, did you implement fully agile method in your developer team?
Yeah, 100%. Hand on heart, ask anyone. No, I mean, for sure, it's the, I mean, not just in our developer teams, but also strongly in our management team as well. So, you know, we really truly try to stay true to a number of the parts of the agile world, especially in terms of iterating on the way we're working, iterating on, let's say, our company structure. You name it, we're exposing it to the agile way of working pretty much.
All right. So Manu DevOps would like to know, how do you deal with teammates or collaborators inactively in a remote environment?
Inactivity, was it, or what?
Yeah.
So this is like, okay, are people really working remotely or what? So, I mean, dude, I tell you the honest truth, until I had my kids about, well, I can tell you 13 years ago, I was a complete slacker, right? So I probably wrote the book on not doing as much work as I should do, yeah? And I can tell you right now, it's perfectly possible to not do any work at the office, okay? You can have long conversations, you can schedule meetings, or you can just browse Reddit or whatever. You don't need people to be in the office or remotely to be able to let's say, get good work. You get, let's say, good work out of building trustful relationships with your team and having a common understanding of, you know, what we're trying to achieve. And I think, you know, we've done that. We have a clear vision on where we're heading as a team, and people, so far, people do pretty good on that. Although I have to say, actually, if I think about it now, I actually played a game of Overwatch in between my last meeting and this one, so I'm probably guilty of goofing off even at home as well. But you know, the important thing is, no one works every minute of the day. That's not true either, right? So, you know, I personally think, you know, I trust the team that we have, because I know that they're really focused on doing the right thing. And I think with that, to be honest with you, if they do want to goof off for a little bit, that's also cool, man. And we positively encourage it in our office, which we're sadly not using at the moment. We got, you know, every method of goofing off, table tennis tables and PlayStations and the whole lot, because it's a big part of you know, it's not successful or let's say highly productive teams don't work every minute of the day.
Yeah, I agree with you. So another question from Lars Auerbach. He wants to know, hey Tom, how is the CS Code positioning against other huge initiatives like CSO?
So it's one of my group colleagues. Okay. So here's the thing, right? Well, what can I say? Internal politics. I learned a while back, right, that internal politics is a really polite way of saying bad behavior in adults. Okay, so you know, when a kid misbehaves, we tell them off and say, hey, you're being naughty, you're being bad, right? But when adults misbehave in corporate worlds, it's called internal politics. that aside, I think actually we're working closely with CSO to deliver stuff together. And in fact, actually, I think let's watch this space. Let's see what happens.
All right. So one last question, then I think we're also running out of time,
Cool.
from Valko, and he asking test Q question mark. So the question about, I think you mentioned test Q maybe. Can you give some more insight about this? You know what is meaning?
Test queue. I would need a clue, man. So hang on, let me look back through my slides. I don't remember.
Okay, no problem. Maybe we can ask Valko to repeat the question in a more detailed way. And yeah, then maybe another question also from Valko. Do you
Cool.
have playbook how to deal with wife at home giving more tasks than your workload queue?
I'm kind of sad. I have my own personal Trello, and it's a mixed thing of work and personal stuff, and I color them differently, right? So I have to make sure that I do enough of the personal stuff, otherwise I get in trouble.
All right, perfect. So, Tom, I think we're at the end of this session. Thank you very much for joining us. It was our pleasure. So, we still have one more talk coming up. And Tom, yeah, thanks again for joining.
Yes, can I say thanks very much for everyone who watched the talk and for the questions. Super interesting, and look forward to hopefully interacting in a real way soon.
All right, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Hello everyone and welcome back. So we're about to start our last talk of this first mobility day. So we're gonna invite Martina. She's product manager at Volkswagen AG and she will take a tour of software development in a balanced team where people can be open, listen to each other and trust each other. So having said this, I hand over. Welcome, Martina, and say the stage is yours. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Gary. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here and give you a warm welcome for the WeAreDevelopers Mobility Days. I'm very happy to be live for you today and to talk a little bit about balanced teams. So before we start the topic balanced teams, I would like to talk about teams and working together a little bit, because I think that different people have different definitions and opinions about what working together and what a team exactly is. So let's start small and let's start with small definitions. Okay, so imagine you are a developer, maybe you are, but imagine you are a developer and you are going to a job interview and they ask you if you're a team player, if you can work in teams. What would you say? Of course, you would say, yes, I can. I am the best team player ever. Okay, so actually, it's not like this. So let's start thinking about what exactly working in teams and a team means. Let's start small with the definition of a group. So a group is a number of people, and the people are located together and are doing stuff. Okay, this is a group. And when we think of a goal, the goal is an idea or a plan, a people or maybe a group of people plan and they commit to achieve. Okay, this is what a goal is. And then we think of the definition of a team. A team is a group of people. Okay, the group of people, the group of these excited people we already seen on the first slide. And they want to work together to achieve the specific goal they have committed to. This is what a team is. Okay, but working in a team is not that easy. Working in a team, working together means that we combine our personal efforts, our knowledge and our skills to achieve the specified goal. Yes, we committed to. And we cannot see in the brains of other people. We cannot do this. You don't know what people means or what they think. Okay, you have to communicate and you have to talk to each other to know what other people think. And this is what working together is all about. It's all about communication. Okay, so let's start small. Let's take some people together. Let's put them into a room and let's call this room an office. Let's call these people a team. And then we gave them some money. We gave them some time frame and we gave them hardware. Okay, then another people comes in, another maybe a product owner from the business department comes in, gave them an idea and some requirements, and he says that they shall develop a product. Okay, so they got the time frame. He goes back. He goes to his office. Then he comes back after this time frame and expect that this product is finished. Okay, and this product has or fulfills the requirements and is ready for the user and for the customer. Okay, so this is the theory, but in practice, it looks different. Okay, so let's start building a small team. Let's start having a look on a developer. Okay, we have a look on a developer. A classic developer is what we say in German, a Kellerkind. Okay, so a basement child when we want to translate this into English. But I think the English word of Kellerkind is known. So let's think of a Kellerkind. The more polite way to talk about developers is nerds. Okay, so it's a nerd. And what developers don't like, they don't like working together. They like to work alone in the basement on their desk, listen to the music and commit or communicating with no one. Okay, they want to be alone. So when we try building a team with developers, it would look like this. Okay, we would have many of developers working together in an office, but they don't working together. They are sitting at their desk, they're hearing to music, and they don't communicate, they don't share, they don't do together nothing. Okay, they are working alone. This is not what we understand about working together. Okay, this is not working together for us. So what are balanced teams? We think that you can work together in balanced teams. That exactly the definition of a balanced teams is what working together means. And we have different people in balanced teams. We have full stack developers, we have a product manager, we have a UX designer, we have a product owner, and we have agile coach and an agile coach. And in the software development center where I work in, we have different product teams. Okay, the software development center contains of different product teams where we collaborate in a specific model. You can see here. So we have on the technology side, we have developers which are working in XP pairs. So we are coding in XP mode with pair programming and TDD. On the business side, we have the product manager who goes hand in hand with the product owner. And the product owner is the representative of the business department. So he has a vision for a product. He gave some requirements and an idea. But first of all, he has the budget. He has the money for the team to develop this product. And on the last side, we have the UX designer who has a really important role because he is the representative to the outside world, to the customer. And he wants, or the whole balance team wants to build the perfect product for the customer. So the UX designer is not only doing some designs and some UI, but he's going out to the outside world, to the customer and to the user, and he asks and checks what are the user needs and how can we build this product to fulfill these user needs. So this is what a balanced team is in the SDC. And outside of the balanced teams, we have our office leads who are managing the whole SDC as the IT department in the Volkswagen group. And we have agile coaches which are supporting us in agile rituals within the balanced team. So this is what the collaboration model is in the SDC. And for a few days ago, I talked to a colleague of mine, and I talked to him that I will have this talk today and will talk a little bit about teams. And he gave me a really great definition of a team. And this definition is toll ein anderer macht's. So this means, oh yeah, great, another person will do this. Someone else will do this. Okay, so this is a really great definition of a team. So thank you, Jöran, for giving me this definition. I must laugh because the funny thing is that he is working in a balanced team, so it's actually not fitting at all. But yeah, it was a really funny thing, and so I wanted to share this definition with you today. And so this is what balanced teams not doing. So this is not a balanced team. This definition doesn't fit at all. Which definition fits very good is the definition of a self-organized and self-directing team. Because when we think of a balanced team, we think of a team which has no leader. So this is a team where every team member takes a part of the group's leadership and the group's responsibility and has to think about it day by day when working together. Okay, so he cannot just give a task to another team member and cannot think about it because he is responsible for this task. He is responsible for the team and for the product the same as another person in the team. Okay, so we are sharing the team's responsibility and the team's leadership within a balanced team. We have some rules in our balanced team we have defined, and we are doing extreme programming. So we are doing pair programming and TDD. every day. We are communicating, asking, discussing, sharing, and questioning ourselves and our decisions. We are taking decisions together and as a team. We're continuously reviewing and improving ourselves. We're trusting each other. And what is really important for us is that we are having fun, because we think that a team without having fun together cannot be a balanced team, cannot work good together. And this is what we want to do in our balanced team. We want to have fun. We want to go into the work happy, and we want to work with our people happy. So we are these excited people you already had seen on the first slide. Okay, but this is about our rules. But how can you balance a software development team? We have these rules, but how can we fulfill these rules? And that's why I would like to share some doings with you. But first of all, I would like to share a definition with you, which is not a balanced team. Okay, so this is what a balanced team is not, because working together is a good definition for a balanced team. So when you take the statement and when you negate this, you have actually have the statement for working in a balanced team. Okay, so now I would be finished with my talk, because now I already shared everything you have to know for working in balanced team. But of course, I will not stop here. I would like to share some insights and give you some ways and give you some rituals, so you can create a frame for balancing your team and for working in a balanced team. Okay, so let's start with our doings. What we are not doing is coding alone. So the developers are always coding in pairs. Why are we doing this? Because we think that coding in pairs is for sharing, is for giving the knowledge to your colleague. Okay, so sharing and improving and getting better. And sometimes I think people are thinking that their skills and their knowledge and this is all what they have in their brain, that this is gold. Okay, and they don't want to share this. They think that this is my precious, but it's not. Okay, this is something we have to share with others, with other people. We have to improve, that we get better. You have to get better. The whole team have to get better, and this is only working with sharing. So we are not coding alone, we're coding in pairs. And the same is for the designer. So the designer, he doesn't create the designs alone, but he are creating designs with review and feedback from the team. And of course, he goes to the outside world and he's asking the customer and the user and gets his feedback and his review, okay? And then he is coming back, creates other designs or do some improvements on his designs, and then he's again showing it to the team, because he wants our feedback and he wants our review for his designs. This is what working in a team means. So next thing we are doing is that PO and PM, they don't prioritize product features and the backlog alone. They don't want to do this alone because they want to have the review and the feedback from the team. And because chores are very important, because we want to get better, we want to have a high quality code. New features are not always more important than chores. We have to discuss within the team if chores the developers planned have more priority than some new features. Okay, because the developers, they want to improve and they want to have clean code. They want to refactor some stuff if they think that it's not good enough. And we have to give them the possibility to do this. And this is a team decision. We have to do this together. So this is what means we are working together. We decide together. The PO or DPM, they don't have the last word, and they don't decide on their own and alone without the team. Besides this, we have no heroes. This is because we are sharing our knowledge. So we don't want to build knowledge islands within our team and within the whole SDC. That's why we are rotating every day in our pairs, and we are rotating within the software development center to get another knowledge, to exchange the knowledge, to share this, the things with other teams, and to not create heroes. Okay, so we are valuing different opinions, and we are talking about this. We are sharing and exchanging our knowledge, and we do this together within the team. So next, we learn, improve, and share together. So all the points I already told you. We are doing this because we want to learn, improve, and share knowledge. And of course, we are giving feedback, and we look back, and we do this continuously. So that's our doings. But how are we doing this? Okay, so you learned now the doings we are doing, the doings we are doing, but how are we doing this? Okay, so we have some ways, we have some rituals, and we have a process which guarantees us that we are fulfilling our rules, and we think of doing this, what I already told you. So let's start with the first thing, or the first way. So Corona is really hard. We are in home office now since end of March, and it's really hard feel like part of a team during these times. Okay, so it's really hard feeling that you have colleagues outside there, and normally you are talking to them in an office when you are isolated in your home. Okay, so Corona is hard, and to save this team feeling, and to feel like working within a team, we opened a private channel for our communication, where we can communicate open, where we can chat and share some gifts and so on. This is a good thing for us. And another thing which is really, really important for us is saying hello and goodbye daily. What does this mean? When you go into your office, so before Corona, when you go into your office and a colleague is already there, you say, hello, my friend, I'm also here. Okay? You cannot do this when you're working at home. How could you do this? But you can. In our team channel, we are saying hello when we start working. Okay, you open the team channel and you say hello to everybody. And the same you are doing when you stop your work. Okay, when you go home, you say goodbye. And this is what we are doing daily. And another thing we have learned, which is really, really great, is that we have open calls in the team channel. What means open calls? An open call means, yet when thinking before Corona, when you want to have to question, or to have a question to your colleague, you wants to ask him, you go over to him at his desk and you directly ask him. You cannot do this in home office, okay? So, but with open calls, you can, because an open call is when a development pair starts a call in the team channel, and me, when I have a question, I can directly enter this open call and can directly ask them. This is awesome. This is so great. They can directly answer my question. We can discuss. We can decide together, and they can go out of this call and can start or continue my work, my daily work. So it's quite the same feeling when you go over to your colleague in the office, and when you ask him directly. So open calls are really, really cool. I can recommend it to you. What we are doing for our process, for our product development process, our daily stand-ups. We are doing them daily, and we are doing them in the morning. So we are gathering together. We are talking about our stories, which we had the day before. So we are going through the backlog, through the current iteration. We go over the stories, and the pairs are talking about what they achieved the day before. And then we are doing signups, we are doing rotations, we are sharing information from the PO and the PM and the designer. And then we start the day together as a team. And what we are doing on a weekly basis is weekly backlog reviews. Weekly backlog reviews are meetings where the PO, PM, and the designer, they meet together in a meeting. They are going through the backlog, and they are looking at all the stories. They do some refinement on the stories. They are writing new stories. They are talking about new features and so on. And if they need the input from the developers, they of course take the developers into the discussions and into the meeting. And after these weekly backlog reviews, there are more meetings where the developers are more integrated into the meetings, but I will tell you later. But the next one, the next meeting we are doing weekly is retrospectives. So I already told you that we want to look back and we want to review ourselves and our work, and we are doing this in retrospectives. So the cool thing about our retrospectives is that we, besides we have a agile coach, we are doing retrospectives bi-weekly by ourselves. So bi-weekly, a team member is presenting a retrospective. So he's creating the retrospective and then he's moderating the retrospective. And this is really cool because we can improve ourselves, our soft skills, and as a moderator of a retrospective, you can see how your team is doing within the retrospective. So you're on the other side, and this is really cool. This is yeah, a cool thing you can see when you're doing a retrospective. Okay, so the other meetings we are doing bi-weekly are pre-IPM, IPM, and the iteration review. So as I already told you, when you are doing weekly backlog reviews where we are preparing an iteration, in the pre-IPM, we are meeting together with one developers pairs, and then we are going through the planned iteration. We're checking every story if the story is okay to read, if the user needs are understandable, if the acceptance criteria are understandable, and of course we are checking if the story is estimatable by the developers and by the team. And we are doing this bi-weekly. And after this pre-IPM, which is currently happening at the end of an iteration, our iterations are 2-week iterations. So at the end of an iteration, we have a pre-IPM. Then we meet with the whole team in an IPM meeting, iteration planning meeting, and the start of an iteration. And the start of an iteration is always on Monday morning after we are doing a daily stand-up. We're doing the iteration planning meeting where we plan together the iteration. So we are going through the planned iteration with the whole team. We are checking every story. We are checking the user needs, the acceptance criteria, and if the story is estimatable, and then we estimate the story. Okay, and then after estimating the stories, we are looking at the stories, and then we're creating an iteration together. So we look what we can do, what we can achieve in this iteration. Okay, and after an iteration, so when an iteration is finished, we are doing an iteration review to look back at this iteration and to talk on some stories, which was bad, which was not so good, or why we couldn't do more. This is what we are doing in an iteration review. Beside all this, we have huddles on demand. Huddles is a really cool thing. Huddles mean that when you have some problem, when you have a question and you want to discuss it with the whole team, you create an open call in the channel where everybody meet together. So they huddle and then they are talking about this topic. Sometimes you're doing this time box when we have more than one topic so that we don't waste too much time for discussing. But we're meeting together, we're discussing one thing, we are deciding together, and then we again splitting and then we go into the other calls and the dev pair calls, and we continue our work. So this is really cool for just doing a small meeting, discussing something, and then go back and do the work. Continue with the other work. This is really cool. So try it out. The last thing we are doing, weekly mini team events. So happy. We are doing mini team events. So what does this mean? We have fun in our team. This is really awesome. We are meeting in a meeting which is half an hour a week. We're doing this before a retrospective, and we are laughing together. We are talking. We're playing mini games online, and this is really cool because we can have fun together as a team, and then we can continue with our work. And why are we doing this before a retrospective? We're doing this because then we are happy and open-minded, and we can share better in a retrospective. We can look better, and we can give feedback better, okay? Because we're happy. And this is really important. It's really important to be happy in a balanced team. So next and the last, it's all about people. I know I told you yet very much about theory, about the stuff we are doing, but it's really hard if you don't have the right people for this. You have to have the people to do the right things and to be in a balanced team, to work together. Okay, without the right people, you cannot work together. So this is really important. So balanced teams. When you are happy, when you have a balanced team, when you are innovative and you can share and care and communicate within your team, then you can create awesome products and you are proud of this product. This is the result of a balanced team. And you are really proud that we can do this in the SDC Wolfsburg. I'm very happy to do this every day. And I hope that I could motivate you to try this out because this is really cool. This is really great. And that's why I'm here and I'm talking about this because this is really cool. I can't say this enough. This is really cool. Okay. And next thing, I have some questions for you. So I'm actually finished with my talk. I told you everything, but I have some questions I would like to ask you. You don't have to ask these questions. I would like that you ask this question, that you answer these questions for yourself, because I would like that you check for yourself if you could work in a balanced team or if you may be already working in a balanced team without knowing it. Okay, so here comes the first question. Do you think that you can openly speak out your opinion? Next one. Do you think that your opinion matters to your colleagues in your team? Do you trust your colleagues and can you count on your team? This is really important. Think about it. Could your team work without a team leader? Can you take decisions together as we are doing it in a balanced team without a team leader? Are you reviewing and trying to improve your work and team regularly or even continuously? Are you doing this? So this were my questions. Now I'm really finished my talk, and I'm very happy to see and to hear your questions. I hope I will get some feedback from you. I'm very excited to get some feedback. And it was my first time talking about my experiences and my insights within the balanced team to an audience. So don't be too hard on me with the feedback. And so thank you very much.
So, thank you very much for your presentation. I think you made my day remembering me with the definition of teams, actually. Toll, ein anderer macht's. I definitely will remember this next time when we're having our internal team meeting. Thanks for that again.
Great.
So, may I just beg you to stop the screen sharing?
Of
Then
course.
I will bring up the Slido screen and let's see if there are some questions for you. So, David would like to know, do you recommend fully agile methods and Scrum or some mixture agile with some traditional methods?
Oh, this is really hard. So, yeah, this is hard because you should work agile. You should work in an agile way, but I think that you should decide this on your team basis. So you should check if how does your team working together, and if this method fits to your team. I think this is really important, that it fits to the team, and the team can work with this method and with these processes.
All right. What do you do if someone is not performing well?
This is hard. I'm doing nothing, I could say, because my role is product manager, but I'm a product manager. I'm not a team manager, so I'm not managing the team. And as I already told you, the responsibility and the leadership of the product and of the team is by the team. So I maybe would, when I notice something and when I see this, I would give open feedback to the person, and I would talk with him about this. But I would not make him, I don't know, more stressed and something like this, because actually it's his decision, yes, and we have to decide as a whole team. Maybe he has some problems or something you want to share why he's not performing good or something like this. We have to talk about this and to clarify this together.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. So that brings me all the way right to the next question. It's pretty close to this one. What is if someone on the team is having a hard time, personal or professional?
Because we are trusting each other, of course, the person should came to me or should came to another team member and should have a talk with us about this, because we are understandable. We can talk about it and find a solution together.
Yeah, definitely. What time frame do you think is necessary to create a balanced team? Any suggestions on this?
Ooh. What time frame? I actually don't know. So it could work really well, and the team balanced team could be ready within some weeks, or maybe it takes months. I don't know. It's by the people, right? How the people can or how they can think about what balanced teams are. But when you are defining a frame for the balanced teams, and you have some weeks time for trying it out, I think it could work fine after some weeks.
Fine. Jennifer would like to know, do you have any DevOps best practices?
Actually not. Not prepared for this, sorry.
That's fine, no worries. So one last question from Anonymous. How exactly pair programming looks like? Do developers work on exactly the same thing in the same time? Or in example, one is developing SW and the second one tests?
No. So we are doing test-driven development, and we are doing pair programming, and it looks like this. You are sitting next to your colleague, and you have the computer, and you have the computer, and your colleague has only the monitor, but he has a keyboard and a mouse, and you have it too. But one developer is coding, and the other one is navigating. So it's a play between coding and navigating. So only one person is coding, the other one is just looking at the screen and navigating while the other is coding. So you see exactly the same all the time, and you're communicating about what you want to code, what you want to do, and then you switch the roles. So you are not doing this the whole time, because this would be boring, right? So you have to switch, and because every developer wants to code.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so that was the last question actually coming up in Slido. So Martina, thank you very much. It was our pleasure having you. Thanks for spending the afternoon with us.
It was a pleasure for me too. Thank you.
Great. So, and as we are already end of this day, I want to say thank you to everyone out there for tuning in today at the first day of our WeAreDevelopers Live Mobility Days. And we will have 2 more mobility days coming up on November 12th and 17th. So check out the program on wearedevelopers.com/live and simply sign up. And I'm also super excited to announce that we're gonna have another WeAreDevelopers Live week.